Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, to our phenomenal hosts, to Asha, to the Gems leadership, and to the children. I would like to thank the parents. It is the parents that send their children to a school of this high quality and caliber that are making the difference for us. Because you have invested in your children. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a background story into how this all came about. I had something in my head prepared, but seeing these children singing, listening to the music just lifted me up. And I was taken back to when I was a little child in Africa. I was given tremendous freedom. My mother would shoo me out the house early in the morning and say, go. And I would go out and sit on the termite heaps. As you can hear from my accent, I came from South Africa. And I would sing for hours on end and pick seeds and grass and take those back to my mother. My mother is now 80 years old, and she still has a little matchbox next to her bed with some seeds that I took to her. She said they were the greatest gift that I could ever have given her. Now that she's 80, she questions how we came to this point with climate change. And I ask her, what do you think it is that has created this issue? And she says, our desires. Our desires. We want more, we want faster, we want the best, we want the latest clothes, a throwaway society where we must buy things. But it is education that will bring us back to heal. Last year, I just happened by chance to meet the UN Director of UNITAR and UNCC Learn, Angus Mackay, at a dinner. And he was telling me about an initiative that UNCC Learn was delivering, where children in the wealthier Swiss schools were having a Skype meeting with children in the Ivory Coast. And the children in Switzerland said to the children in Ivory Coast, this climate change, not great, we can't ski anymore. And the children in the Ivory Coast replied, gosh, we have no fish. We have electricity blackouts. Some of us have to go and walk for miles to collect firewood, where we are sometimes abused and harmed, just so that we can cook a meal. We cannot learn. I went home and I looked at the video of this conversation between these two schools. And I noticed that it had 222 views. And I, possibly rudely, sent him a WhatsApp message saying this is not enough. He immediately replied, what would you do? I told him. He asked me to meet with him the next morning on Skype. And I said, we are the next morning. Denise Miser and I had a Skype with Angus, and within a week we were flown over to Geneva, where we spoke to 30 UN agencies. And we said, with our experience of delivering education programs, we know that you have to upskill teachers first. You cannot simply hand a teacher a lesson plan and say, there you go, teach. You have to raise that teacher up so that they become a specialist in their field. There was a website, which UNCC Learn had been using, with a few courses on. And I asked if we could take 5 of those courses to turn those into the climate change teacher course. I think that Angus thought I would go away. He said, can you prove you can get this into 80 schools in the United Kingdom? Please note, United Kingdom. We launched this initiative at COP24 in Katowice in Poland in December last year. I still send Angus that video clip because this didn't stay in the United Kingdom. I remember it as if it was yesterday. On a Saturday morning, you will rest on a Saturday, Friday and a Saturday, Sunday your week starts. I received a message from a young teacher here in the UAE, Candice Wright. And she said, I want to do this course and I want to take part in phase 2. I said, I'm really sorry, but my remit from the United Nations is that this has to be the first 80 schools in the United Kingdom. I went away, had a cup of coffee. Something just clicked. And I messaged her back. If you do this course, Candice, would you take this out to your leaders, to your country? Do you think that you could get somebody in the UAE to pick this up and roll with this? I sent her a draft press release. She came back and she said, thank you for the press release. I work for the Germans group. And I thought, I know the Germans group. I've actually been to one of their schools in my previous job as a handwriting specialist. The next thing I knew, she was on the cover of the Khaleej Times. She then sent me a message saying, I've received a beautiful gift, a Burberry scarf from Sally Barkey and Ban Ki-moon thanking me. And then I didn't think anything else would happen of it. I kept it very quiet from my UN team partners, but I thought, I've gone above my remit. A few weeks later, I had a message from Asha Alexander asking if she could have a Zoom meeting with me. Denise and I met Asha, it was early in the morning, and she just had this energy and drive about her. It's not very often that you come across leaders in life, and I knew that I was meeting somebody very, very special. A week later, I had a Skype call from Tim, who's our CTO, very young lad, but very bright, a polymath, and he said, something is very wrong here, Mel. Something is not right. I said, what's happened? He said, 70 teachers from one school. It's impossible. I had to brace myself. I thought, what have I done wrong now? I had a look, and I said, no, it's not wrong. And within the next few days, Carlo, who's our VA, said, man, there's another 100. The next day, Bell, man, another 100. I thought, something is going on here. Asha messaged me and said, every teacher in my school is now an Educate Global climate change teacher. Everyone. But I'm not stopping there. And I didn't know what she meant. The next week, 58 parent governors had completed the UN course as well. They were UN accredited. I kept this to myself because I thought I'm really going to get into trouble here because I've gone from the UK, it's now spread to the UAE. And I happened to be in a meeting with the Dean of Winchester University, and Angus Mackay had come over from Geneva because we were discussing delivering climate change teachers via the universities, the teaching universities in the United Kingdom. And this particular dean frightened me so much. She wasn't a very tall lady, but it took me back to being 7 years old and holding out my hands to Mrs. Jeremiah, my head teacher, thinking, I'm going to be in trouble. She was a very formidable young lady. She asked Angus some very tough questions, and I thought, I need to get him out of a hole here. And I opened my iPad and I said, look at this. This is a school in Dubai, in the UAE, where every teacher is an Educate Global, UN-accredited climate change teacher. Well, Angus jumped out of his chair. This formidable dean jumped out of her chair, and I saw them hugging and dancing around her office. I thought, I'm in the clear. I was then allowed to admit to Angus that 30 other countries had come on board, that we now had climate change teachers coming on from around the world. The course had gone global. We launched this on April the 22nd. We now have 29,000 teachers in the United Kingdom that have signed up. 11,000 are now fully accredited. And this week I discovered that there are now more than 250,000 teachers registered on our UNCCE Learn Educate portal with the UN. This course has truly gone global. It is merely the first step in a 5-phase project. We were very lucky. A leader in the north of England, Jamie Driscoll, the Metro Mayor of the North of Tyne, contacted us and asked us if he could promote this in every school in his region. 3 councils: Tyneside, Newcastle, Northumberland. The Guardian featured his vision. A few weeks later, I had a strange email from a lady called Diana from the Hammersmith and Fulham Sovereign Borough Council asking me to come to a meeting. I wasn't quite sure what I'd done wrong, but I knew that I had to go. See, I have this inferiority complex. I think maybe it's because I'm from Africa. I think I've always done something wrong. And we arrived at this meeting, and we met Councillor Larry Calhoun, Diana, Jan Parnell, and he said, "We tracked you down, and we want what you've got. We've seen the article in The Guardian, and we want a climate change teacher in every school." And I said, hang on a minute. Something very interesting is happening over in the UAE, in Dubai. And I think that you may want that, because that is unprecedented. There is a template that has been created by a very special head teacher. And I think we need to go and see that. I never expected him to say, right, we'll go, let's book the flights, let's offset our carbon footprint, we'll plant some trees, and he shook on it. I walked out of that meeting, and I thought, what has just happened here? A week later, we were called to meet the leader of the Hammersmith and Fulham Sovereign Borough Council, Stephen Cowan. And I thought I'd have to do a hard sell. He sat us down and said, "You don't need to tell us anything. We're going, we're committed, we want what you have, and we want what they're doing over there." Stephen gave me a document called An Economic Growth for Everyone. I highly recommend you go online to the Hammersmith and Fulham Sovereign Borough Council's website and look at this document. This is leadership. It is the same leadership that I have seen on arrival here in Dubai. Buildings the like of which I've never seen in my life. Infrastructure, projects. A nation that is forging ahead, leading by example. You have the 2020 Expo next year. We would love for nothing more than for this symbiotic relationship, this transfer of knowledge from the UAE, from kindergarten starters, the GEM schools, to be delivered by the Hammersmith and Fulham Sovereign Borough Council, every school. For the head of education, for 2 head teachers in a borough council to clear their diaries, come away from their very busy schedules for a week, is unheard of. But we will be coming back, and we will be ensuring that Asha Alexander attends COP25, and we would like for you to all support her. We would love for Sunny Vaki and Dino Vaki to join her on that very prestigious visit. She will be presenting to the world media at the Conference of the Parties in Madrid. She will be telling the world what you are doing here in the UAE and how you are sharing your knowledge, not just with the United Kingdom, but with the rest of the world, leading by example. Transformative teaching. Teaching that changes the world. For children like of me when I was little, to have vision and drive and focus. I met a leader in every classroom yesterday. Every child had the skills and the abilities to go on to shape my world, my future, your world, your future. Every child was the potential prime minister, president, leader of a country, of a region, of a council, of a business. These children are going to fix the mess that we have made, and they are going to guide us and help us to become sustainable, positive. The changes that we make, we will not experience in our lifetimes. We need to leave a legacy, and they are our legacy, and we need to support them and support each other, because when this comes, and it is here already, we will need to join forces like never before. No wars, no hunger, and education for all. Sustainable, ensuring that our children stay in their boroughs, in their councils, to transform their locations, their living conditions, and those around them. I cannot thank you all enough for inviting us here and for your hospitality. It is absolutely amazing. And I'm going to start crying, so it's best that I keep quiet and go away. I look forward to coming back here in a year's time and to telling you that we will have a climate change teacher in every classroom, in every school, everywhere. Thank you.